What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. I'm here with my co-host, Slim. You can find him at RTR30111 on Twitter. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to Slim's podcast, To the Galaxy Pod, he covers a lot of Warriors content, different things there, as well as the entire NBA landscape on To the Galaxy Pod on YouTube. You see it right there on the overlay here on the screen, but it's also in the bio section of this show. You'll find the direct link to the YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button for my man Slim. But once again, welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA, brought to you by DSM Media. Welcome to the show, Slim. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yes, sir. Doing great, man. Ready to talk some hoop, man.
I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, it was a slow night last night, man. No hoops. And that never happens like during the NBA season, only in election years. So It was a little weird to have no like sports at all, like let alone football, but no basketball, which is on usually every single night. We'll check in with some of the commenters here. What's up, HP? Let's go. D-Rab. Appreciate you. Anybody out there that's watching live, feel free to hop in the comments as we go through everything that we're going to discuss today. First, we're going to start. I haven't talked to Slim since the Harden trade, so I want to get his thoughts there. We'll talk about Harden's debut in LA against the New York Knicks on Monday. Then we'll kind of gravitate towards the Sixers, talk about the pieces they picked up, how they've looked so far for the Sixers. Then we'll gravitate into the Ant Edwards conversation, which I think is going to be really interesting because this is a guy that kind of blew up to national media and nationwide viewers, I feel like, over the summer, but he's kind of been ascending for the last couple of years in the real Hooper's eyes. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts there. Then we'll kind of finish out some sleeper teams, discuss them, NBA Power Rankings Top 10, and we'll finish with Wednesday night picks because there's a hell of a slate tonight going around the NBA. But let's start from the top, man. I want to get your thoughts right here, Slim. What are your thoughts on this James Harden trade where you see Harden head out to LA with PJ Tucker? In return, the Sixers end up getting Marcus Morris, KJ Martin, Nicholas Batum, and I'm forgetting one. Rocco. How can I forget Rocco? On top of the first round pick and then a first round pick swap. What were your thoughts on this trade? Did you think there was any clear winner in the trade? Just start there.
Well, first and foremost, the Sixers won this trade, if you ask me. I mean, no doubt about it. You know, you guys finally got him off your team. So, hey, that's a start. I mean, you didn't really get nothing too crazy, but you did get, some pieces you could potentially flip at the trade deadline. And also, these guys on expiring contracts. And so I'll tell you this, KJ Martin, athletic wing, he brings something to y'all team that y'all really didn't have.
Yeah.
From an athleticism standpoint, he's young. He can get up and down the court, things like that. But as far as Harden fitting in with the Clippers, I might say it's interesting because, like, I think Russell probably had to sacrifice the most because, he like to have the ball in his hand. Same thing with Harden. But I really don't like Russ playing off the ball like that because he's not an elite three-point shooter. He can knock it down, but he isn't an elite shooter. So it'd be interesting to see how Ty Lue figure out the different combinations to make it work. But I think the Sixers definitely won this trade, in my opinion. Tyrese Maxey, he's taking that leap. I mean, he's averaging 26 points a game, 27. So it was time to move on. No sense of dragging this all across the season. Just trying to move on.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head, at least from my perspective, obviously, as a Sixers fan. Like, I feel like we did win this trade, not only because of what you got back in this deal. Like, you take four role players, right? These aren't just like end of the bench guys. These are like legitimate role players.
Right.
And they've stacked up wing defenders. And you go into a game like tonight against the Boston Celtics, one of the best teams in the league, probably one of the better contenders in the Eastern Conference that you're going to end up facing in the playoffs. Now you got a bunch of different guys you can throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So
right.
Think it makes a lot of sense for the Sixers. Makes a little bit of sense for the Clippers, I guess, like when you look at it from name value. But like you said, who's taking the ball out of their hands? Like, we know it's not Kawhi. You kind of saw it in the first game, the debut against the New York Knicks for Harden. PG-13 didn't touch the ball much in this game, not as much as he normally touches it.
Right.
And he had a very poor shooting night. He had 10 points. I think he had a few turnovers in very bad shooting. 2 for 11 from the field, 1 for 6 from the three-point line. So it seems like he was the one most affected by it. You saw Russ. He had 17 points in this game, 18 for Kawhi. Ends up being a loss. You look at Harden's numbers. This is what's funny about Harden, though, man. It's crazy when you really look into it, because Harden in this game, face value, 17 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 6 for 9 shooting, 2 for 4 from the three-point line. Face value, that's a great game. You know, your first game with the Clippers, and you're kind of running the show. Only 2 turnovers, but a team low -18. So
-18.
Where is that disconnect between the numbers and what the team is producing when he's on the floor? And mind you, plus minus isn't everything, but it can tell a lot. And what that speaks to for me is not great chemistry, not great flow for their team, but also on the defensive end, which is where the concerns come with James Harden as well. So looking at it from that perspective, man, I just don't know what the Clippers are really doing. Like, I don't know that was the right move for them. When you look at how much depth they lost, like when we were discussing like hypothetical trades, we were talking around like a Terrence Mann and maybe one other player, right? Yeah. Like maybe 1 or 2 other players, like maybe maximum it's Terrence Mann, Batum, and Rocco or something like that, right? They gave up 4 rotational players, and 3 of which were actually in their rotation last year in Marcus Morris, Rocco, and Nicholas Batum. And then you had KJ Martin, who was in their rotation briefly to start the season. It's kind of crazy when you look at them from a depth standpoint. Like, if Kawhi goes down, where did they go from there? Like, who's the replacement when, you know, Kawhi's going to have to take a rest day here or there, or PG's going to have to take a rest day here or there, or one of them, God forbid, gets injured, given their history? It's interesting to me, you know, a team like that, because I look at it the same way I look at the Sixers in reality. With James Harden, the Sixers, Embiid has to be completely healthy in the playoffs for the Sixers to have a chance at the ring. And so then I go to the Clippers. You trade Harden to the Clippers. Does that mean if Harden performs well, the Clippers make it to the NBA championship and win the championship? I don't think it does. Like, at the end of the day, it comes down to Kawhi Leonard and his health. He's got to be healthy in the postseason, or they're not winning anything. So, like, it doesn't change the bottom line for the Sixers, and it doesn't change the bottom line for the Clippers. So to that point, I don't know. I don't really understand it, man. But yeah, what do you think about the fit of some of these guys on the Sixers, though, from that perspective?
Well, I feel like Batum, he can come in and give out some energy off the bench. He's a vet. Yeah. You know, he's a pretty good defender. He can shoot the ball pretty well. A good pass. He's like a glue guy. He pretty much does literally everything. So he can provide y'all a little bit more than what PJ Tucker could. You know, PJ was more so just a defender and, you know, spot up in the corner. But Batum brings a little bit more than that. And like I mentioned with KJ, you know, athletic wing, some of y'all really didn't have. And Rocco and Marcus Morris, they can provide y'all good depth, guys who come in, knock down shots, rebound, pretty solid defenders. And, you know, you can, in some sense of ways, let Marcus Morris post up against certain matchups and allow them to go to work.
Yeah, I actually like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, with Harden, I feel like one guy who would probably benefit the most is Zubac, because Zubac never really played with a guy like Harden. It's from a point guard standpoint, who still draws somewhat, you know, of offense attention. So he'll benefit the most. You look at Harden with Capella and, you know, Claxton and guys like that. He made them look pretty good. So I feel like Zubac could benefit the most. And from a Sixers standpoint, like, I think getting PJ Tucker off the deal was huge for y'all. You know, PJ Tucker, he getting no younger. And I think he had, like, 2 more years left on his deal?
Yeah, 17 million, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a huge to get him and throw him in that deal. You know, y'all got a lot of money coming up in this upcoming offseason. So
that's interesting. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I kind of skipped over that whole point, PJ Tucker being included in the deal. But you're right. It is a nice kicker, because you look at 3 of the 4 guys. I mean, even KJ Martin's probably better basketball player than PJ Tucker. Now, I'm not going to like argue, you know, PJ Tucker's grit and toughness and experience like over KJ Martin, but Marcus Morris, I would probably take over PJ Tucker in the role that PJ Tucker was playing. Nicholas Batum, I'm definitely taking over PJ Tucker in the role that PJ Tucker was playing. And then Rocco, you could argue that they're around the same, I would say, production or output that you could expect. But PJ Tucker in that second game as a Clipper for him, 11 minutes, 2 points, 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line, 1 rebound, 1 steal for PJ Tucker in that game. And you see there, where's that fit? Where's that piece fit in for them to ultimately take him with James Harden? I get that they're like kind of road dogs, right, from Houston, but I don't know. Like to take that on, it kind of makes it even further of a win for the Sixers, in my opinion. So I think that's a great point that you made there. So you look at the Sixers right now, and it's kind of looking up, man. Obviously, going into tonight's matchup, you got Embiid, who's playing out of his mind, right? 48 points the other night in 3 quarters, playing like an MVP candidate. You got Tyrese Maxey probably playing at a most improved player level right now, averaging 26 points, way up on assists. Let me see here, 7 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 50% shooting, 44% from the 3. And Tobias Harris, man, another surprise for me this year. He looks 120% more confident in his role. He's averaging about 20.6 rebounds right now. So this team is they're playing really well, and I think that's what kind of encouraged Daryl Morey in this front office to go ahead and pull the trigger on that deal. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, though, man. Because I agree with you. I think Harden, like, base level, he makes the guys around him better. Like, he's a great passer. He's a great playmaker. I think he will make Zubac better, like you said. But do they now have enough depth? I feel like they've just kind of switched roles with the Sixers in a sense there. But
right.
Moving on, I want to talk about one of the youngest rising stars in the league. And I'm talking about Ant Edwards, man. Obviously, the other night, he came away with a big performance against Boston, able to give Boston their first loss of the season with the Timberwolves. Against Boston, he had 38 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, borderline triple-double there. 1 steal, 15 for 25 from the field, 2 for 8 from the 3-point line, only 3 turnovers against the Boston Celtics. I bring this up only to precede that with they also were the first team to knock the Denver Nuggets off this season in the TWolves. In that game, Ant had 24 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 8 for 16 from the field. In between there, 31 points against Utah, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Nonetheless, the numbers, right? He's on a tear. That's the point of listing off those numbers. When you think about the T-Wolves, man, where do you place them in this stacked Western Conference? Like, obviously, they're a talented team, but, like, are they a legitimate contender? They're able to take down the Celtics. They're able to take down the Nuggets. Like, do you see them being able to compete with the likes of the Nuggets, who else do you want to throw out? The Phoenix Suns when they get healthy. The Dallas Mavericks are playing really well right now. The Bucks, the Celtics. Do you lump them in to those categories, or are you still a little hesitant with that team?
No, not yet. I'm a little hesitant. And it really resolves around Cat. Like the last season and this season, it's been kind of a struggle for him playing a power forward position. Yeah. Defensively, he looked like a little kid out there. He looked lost. Certain matchups, like he's not used to that, so it's going to take time. But other than that, like Rudy playing phenomenal, Ant-Man, McDaniels, Mike Conley being a vet out there. These guys playing with more confidence. But I can't put them in that conversation quite yet. I got to see improvement from Cat on the defensive end first.
Yeah, I absolutely feel that, and I think I want to throw the Warriors in that group as well, just out of respect to you. I kind of missed out on them, but they're definitely in that group for me. But I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Cat is just simply not playing good, and not only on the defensive end, he is shooting miserably. Like, for him calling himself the best big man shooter in the history of the game, this man is shooting 23.5% from the 3-point line, 38% from the field, 17 points per game, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. It's just not good enough. And I think when you answer that question, it's on a night-to-night basis, what is Cat going to give you? It can't be this floor under 10 points at one night and then 25 and 12 the next night. You need a consistent 18 to 20 and 10 rebounds a night from this man with quality defense. But I think the end-all, be-all of this equation and what we'll soon find out over this season is that Cat needs to be traded, right? If they went and traded all these assets for Rudy Gobert, they obviously believe in him. He may be the guy that can actually, match Ant on the defensive end and maybe be a better pair for him than even Cat, just because of the liability that he is on the defensive end. But not only that, you have a guy like Naz Reid who's sitting behind Cat and Gobert, and this man is averaging 16 points. He's shooting 56% from the field and 46% from three. Like, you need to make room for this guy to enter that starting lineup is what I'm thinking here. And he's obviously going to be a better defender because it's hard not to be, man. So it is interesting in that facet. And you mentioned Jaden McDaniels. He's a monster too in the defensive end. So
defensive type player, man.
They have like the potential to be like a top 5 defensive unit if they could just remove Cat from it. Like just like take him out of the equation, let alone what you like get in return for him. But no, it is interesting. Where would you what is another team that you would maybe compare the Timberwolves to as far as like caliber, like what they can do in the playoffs?
As far as that, I would maybe have to say the Knicks a little bit. I feel like they can match up in the sense of, connect togetherness. They got Mitchell Robinson, Randall, RJ Brunson, and
I like that.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes. So
I do like that. Yeah, they got a lot of like defensive.
Randall has been struggling as well. So
who'd you say?
Julius Randle has been struggling as well. So him and Cat in the same boat right now.
That's actually a great comparison. Now that you kind of go through what you were thinking there, because the Knicks are highly regarded as a great defensive team, and that's what you see in the Timberwolves. You got a guy like Ant versus a guy like Jalen Brunson. Got a guy like Cat versus a guy like Julius Randle, so on and so forth. And then, like you said, Mitchell Robinson and Rudy Gobert. I actually like that comparison. I would maybe even throw like the Cavs are a little different, right? The Cavs are a little different. I guess when I'm thinking of the Cavs, I'm thinking of that caliber of a team, if that makes sense. Like I look at the Cavs, they're probably like a 5 or 6 seed in the East. New York Knicks probably a 5 or 6 seed in the East. The West, T-Wolves maybe 6, 7. I don't know. The West is stacked. That's to say the least. And I think that's what makes it tough for the T-Wolves, man.
Yeah, very stacked. I feel like this may be Cat last season with them. It all depends on how he played though. I think it's time to give Ant-Man, hey, here you go. It's time to move on, man.
Yeah. What do you think about Ant-Man? What do you think his ceiling is? Do you think he can be an MVP, like top 3 player in the league?
I feel like he could be a top 5 player in this league. He's only been getting better every year. I mean, you look at a guy like Giannis, not comparing them, but every year Giannis got better at something. So far, Ant-Man has gotten better at something. Like you mentioned, he had 7 assists. His playmaking has gotten so much better. He reached the game better than he did, past 3 seasons. He's drawing so much attention, so he's just making the right read.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And on the defensive end, man, his size, like everybody's seen that possession of him guarding Jason Tatum at the end of that game against Boston, and just scrappy, long arms. He's stocky, right? Like he's not a small dude by any means. And on top of that, he has like the skill set too, like to shoot the ball at crazy stretches. So I actually agree with you. I think he has the potential to be top 3, top 5 player up there with the likes of Luka. Like when you compare, say, Luka Doncic versus Ant Edwards, the one thing that sticks out to me clearly is Ant Edwards' defensive capabilities. Like with his defensive capabilities, his athletic capabilities, it kind of takes the ceiling off of his potential compared to a Luka who you have to ask yourself, Luka, he's an offensive phenom, but on the defensive end, is he ever going to be able to just be like a neutral defender, right, on the court, like an average defender? I don't know if that's the case. Whereas Edwards, he's got it all, man. You just gotta put it together, right? Luka's tool bag is a lot deeper right now. That's the biggest difference, playmaking and scoring. So he's just got to keep on working on it. I'm sure that ascension is going to keep going, man. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see your top 10 power rankings. We'll get to those shortly here. I want to go over to the sleeper team segment and just talk about some of the teams that, you kind of thought going into this season maybe had a chance of competing, maybe to get into the playoffs. Maybe it's a team that you thought would be in the playoffs, but maybe could contend for a conference championship, get to the conference finals, get to the NBA finals, anything like that. But what you've seen so far in any sleepers that you think may hang around, I'll throw you one. My first one I'm going to mention here is going to be the Orlando Magic. They started out 4-3, nothing crazy, nothing special so far. But I do think in an Eastern Conference that is lacking talent overall compared to the Western Conference, the Eastern Conference is a lot easier to get into the dance, in my opinion. So I'm looking at them as a team that has kind of came out to the forefront right now. They're 4-3, above 500, playing some good basketball. They have some big wins over teams like the Lakers. And I think that's a team that can stick around with the star power of Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and a bunch of the young guys that they got going on over there. So that would be my first one I would throw to you, the Orlando Magic. I don't know if you have any thoughts to share on them or if you have like a sleeper team in mind of your own.
Yeah, the Magic, that's a pretty good team. Like you mentioned, Paolo and Franz Wagner. Paolo hasn't really been, that guy as of late, but he's getting there. It's going to take a while, but he's going to get there. They got a nice young core group of guys: Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, Wendell Carter Jr., and they got Jonathan Isaac finally healthy. So that's a team you can watch out for sure. You shouldn't sleep on them too long.
What about you? Who's a sleeper team that you got right now that you think might hang around here?
I gotta go with the Pacers, man. Like I got a few notes on them. So they the top scoring offense in the league. They're number one in assists per game. The other night they matched the franchise record with 152 points. And this is crazy. They're the only team this season to record more than 80 points in a half, 50 points in a quarter. Like this is a young team. They get after it.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they got Tyrese Halliburton leading the way, Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, Buddy Hield, Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Jalen Smith, Jarice Walker. Like they got a nice young team and they well coached by Rick Carlisle. So
and they're deep, man. They got what, seven different players averaging double figures right now?
Right.
Yeah, approaching 8. I mean, Obi Toppin's averaging 9.7 points. So basically 8 different players averaging double digits right now for the Pacers, man. And it all starts with that man, Tyrese Halliburton, and his playmaking ability, man. One of my favorite players in the league, easily. I mean, there was maybe a year and a half ago where there was that rumor that came out about the Sixers trading Ben Simmons in a package for Tyrese Halliburton. I'll let you know, even at that time, I would have done that over trading for James Harden. And looking back on it, man, I wish I wish I could get a Tyrese Halliburton and Tyrese Maxey backcourt, but he's got something building nice down there in Indiana, and I think it's good for him to kind of get out of anybody's shadow. Like he is a star guard in the NBA. I think it's good for him. So yeah, I like that pick, man. Miles Turner playing some good basketball. Just trying to see his splits right now. He's averaging 16 points, 53% from the field, 41% from the three-point line. Buddy Hield, 46% from the three-point line. Bruce Brown, 45% from the three-point line.
Brown,
Aaron Nesmith, 45% from the three-point line. Benedict Mathurin, that's where the three-point percentage goes down a little bit, but they got a ton of guys that can shoot it too, man. Tyrese Halliburton, 40% from the three-point line. And 11 assists per game, 12 assists per game, 24 points per game. So, yeah, that team is a team to watch out for. The Sixers got 2 matchups coming up against the Pacers soon, so I'll get a firsthand view. I'm actually going to the in-season tournament game against the Pacers next Tuesday in Philly, so I'll get to see them in person. I'm excited for that now that you bring that up. Another team I wanted to mention here. Obviously, we talked about the TWolves earlier. I think that is a sleeper team that can maybe compete with the contenders in the playoffs. That's like maybe not a contender, right? Maybe not a legitimate championship contender, but also a team you don't want to play in the first round of the postseason, right? If you're in the Western Conference, I think that's the best way to put it for them. But the other team I wanted to mention here was the Atlanta Hawks. They're also 4-3 in the Eastern Conference right now. And I think the incline to go towards the Eastern Conference is just because of how weak it is. Somebody's got to step up and grab these last few playoff spots. In my eyes, it's going to be between the Hawks, the Pacers, the Magic, those type of teams. But the Hawks, you look at Trae Young, you look at DeJounte Murray, that's a dynamic backcourt, man, and it starts there. Then you move down to DeAndre Hunter. You got Bogdanovich that's healthy, Clint Capella, Onyeka off the bench. So they got a squad. They got a great coach in Quinn Snyder. I like what they're doing so far. And I think we still haven't seen the best from that backcourt, who I think they kind of balance each other well. I said that last year. We didn't get the results really last season, but I think it could end up a little bit better this year. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Hawks, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One guy as well, Jalen Johnson, he's been doing a phenomenal job at their fourth spot.
My Duke boy, yeah.
Yeah, opposed to John Collins, he's a better playmaker. He reads the game better. But he's been a phenomenal addition. He's playing with much more confidence and just getting after it on both ends.
Yeah. That's such a good call out, man. Honestly, you spoke on the John Collins and kind of that fit and just getting him off the books and getting him over to Utah, right? Get him off the team. And maybe that's why we haven't seen Jalen Johnson or enough of him in the last couple seasons, just because you have John Collins taking up all the minutes, and he obviously has a contract. You're not going to bench him or anything. So you get him out, you get Jalen Johnson up to 30 minutes a game, 14 points per game, 9 rebounds. So he's killing the boards, close to 3 assists and a steal per game. He's giving them a lot there. Yeah, I like the Atlanta Hawks in that situation too. Some other teams I'd mention in this category, obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they played really well out of the gates here. We've already talked about the plethora of talent that they got. They got hoopers on that squad. And it's only a matter of time before they crack into the top of that Western Conference. But I just don't know if it's going to be this season. I think there's still about a season out of truly competing. The San Antonio Spurs, they're another team that I've liked what I've seen from them, but probably still a little too young in the Western Conference, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Thunder, I mean, they just scored 155 points against us, and they didn't even have SGA. So that speaks to how much talent they have over there. Like they drafted well coached. They plan for one another, and they just getting after it. And like you mentioned, it's only a matter of time before they, become a top 5 team in the West.
Yeah, I seriously believe that. You look across the board. You mentioned it. They got a ton of talent, but they also got like they got like this versatility effect where they have a bunch of guys that do kind of all different things, right? Like Josh Giddey can shoot it a little bit, but he rebounds the ball well. He's a playmaker at a good size for a point guard. You got SGA who can score from anywhere, but he's not just like your jack it up from 3 guard. No, he's a guy that likes to get into the paint and operate. He playmakes for others, rebounds well, gets to the free throw line. Chet Holmgren, he's obviously like this alien figure as far as when it comes to basketball. Him and Victor, man, those guys have thoroughly impressed me to start the season so far, man. Yes. If you had to pick one so far, who would be your rookie of the year? Would it be Victor?
I don't know. Like it's kind of hard, but I have to give Chet probably just a little leverage over him because, like, when coming to this season, like everybody had Victor going crazy, averaging like 23 points. Just crazy numbers.
Yeah, expectations are crazy.
But it hasn't just been smooth. It's a transition you have to make. He hasn't just been coming over dominating. But I will say this: those 2 games against the Suns, though. That was just impressive. I cannot lie.
Both of them. Yeah, you're spot on, man. And I actually like that you called that out because you look at OKC, I think they're going to win some more games than the Spurs, and I think Chet will help them in that regard. And so he may get like the higher nod, but their numbers are extremely close right now. I think Chet has 17 and 7, and Victor's at 19 and 8. They both are averaging 2 blocks per game, so doing it on the defensive end. 2 young like stars, like to say the least. They're going to be stars, man. That being said, let's talk about some of the powerhouses in the league right now. Let's get to the top 10 power rankings. Let's start at the top this time, and we'll start with your number 1 team in the NBA currently. Who do you got residing at the top right now, Slim?
Well, I got the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets. I got them coming in at number 1. They have been playing phenomenal basketball. Jokic, he does a great job of making basketball look damn easy, man. He does such a phenomenal job. It's just so easy for him. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Murray, KCP, they all feed off him. And then you got guys coming in off the bench. Has been great. Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Reggie Jackson. They've been amazing, man.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on right there. I have the Nuggets there as well. 7-1 on the season. Obviously, just recently lost to the TWolves for their first loss. Everybody's going to lose a game here and there, so I'm not docking them any points there. They recently beat the Pelicans. They beat the Mavericks over the weekend. They beat the Bulls over the weekend. And yeah, like you said, like D-Rab said here in the comments, he makes basketball look so easy. He looks bored. I
agree.
When the conversations like started heating up over the last 2-3 seasons between Embiid and Jokic, my eyes started to gravitate towards Jokic just to see what it looks like. Like the numbers are crazy when you're looking from the outside looking in. But then when you watch him play, you start to understand, right? Like there's a lot of talk about like him on the defensive end. I don't even believe that he's a defensive liability at this point. Like he's so smart.
Right.
Like he can be a good defender if nothing less than average one. So I don't even think you can dock him that much, but the amount that he makes his teammates better is actually insane. It gets like it's underappreciated at this point. I would say, like after 3 seasons of being an MVP, if not, legitimately the MVP. I know a lot of people wanted him to win it last year, so it's kind of gone a little underappreciated, and just the effortless scoring as well, man. I think that's part of it as well. Yeah, don't make sense to be a walking triple-double at that size. Passing is elite. Completely agree. Number 2, I'll throw you mine. I got the Boston Celtics at number 2 at 5-1. Obviously, just lost to the T-Wolves, beat the Brooklyn Nets over the weekend. But I'm just giving them the credit where it's due. At the end of the day, this is a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They lost a little bit of depth. I am concerned there. I think when you look at their bench, they've got to add something to the bench. Like the way it is right now, you see it. Derek White out of the lineup, it shortens their bench by like a mile. It's actually crazy when you look at who's coming off their bench, like Sam Hauser. Who else?
Peyton Pritchard.
Who's the
Jordan
big
Wallace?
Cornette. Who'd you say?
Jordan Wallace, a rookie they drafted.
Yeah. So they don't have a lot coming off that bench, and so when I look at that versus a team like the Sixers that is deep, even the Bucks are much deeper than the Celtics, I would say.
Yeah,
but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt with the start to the season, the hot start. Who do you got at number 2, man?
I got the Mavericks coming in at number 2. 6-1.
Back to the Mavs.
Jason Kidd, he's out here coaching. I'm impressed from what I've seen. The lineups he got. Tim Hardaway Jr. coming in off the bench. He averaging like 18 a game. He bought into his role coming in. Grant Williams was a huge addition. He brings leadership, toughness. Yeah. He's shooting like 54% on three-point range. And you got Jaden Hardy coming in off the bench, giving energy. It was a huge question about can Luka and Kyrie work. So far, they've been phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah.
And one guy, they hit it big on this draft, Derek Lively.
Yeah,
he's been huge for them. He's just a perfect fit. Lob threat. He can protect the rim. He can rebound well. And he knows his role. Pretty good screen setter, can pass the ball, things like that. But they've been phenomenal. Derek Jones Jr., he's been huge for them in the lineup. So, yeah, I got to go with the Mavericks at number 2. They've been playing phenomenal basketball.
I can appreciate that, man. You're a lot higher on them than I am, and I think it's just because from the start of the season I was kind of low on the Mavs, but I'm coming around. I'm still bullish, but I'm coming around to them. And I do agree with everything you said. I think when you look at the fit around Luka, it's probably the best team that he's ever had around him in reality. Like when you talk about specifically fit, right? And Derek Lively, I got to watch him at Duke, being a Duke fan last year, and he covers all the boxes for everything that they need: the blocking, the rebounding, the defense, and in the oops, right? Like it's a talent to get to the spot for oops in the way that Derek Lively, the Mark Williams of the world on Charlotte, like these young guys, these young, tall, athletic centers that can get to the rim. It is a talent to have those instincts to know when to go for that oop. So you kind of saw like the Mavericks. They tried to add like JaVale McGee. They've been looking for a guy like this for a couple years now to pair with Luka, given the defensive liabilities that we discussed about him earlier. But I do like what you said about Kyrie Irving. I think his willingness to kind of take the back seat to Luka and not be upset about it, right? No, when I get the ball, these spots, these shots, they're his, and knowing that line and when to cross it and when not to, they'll just keep on ironing that out. So wanted to share my thoughts on the Mavs. I got them a little bit later in the list, but share those thoughts now that you listed them. Who's your number 3? Go a little back and forth here.
I got to go with the Warriors, man. We've been playing phenomenal basketball.
Like it.
We 6-2, I think. Last season, it took us 11 games to win our first road game. So far, it took us 1 game. So just impressive to see. Chris Paul has been phenomenal coming in off the bench. Absolutely. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. They all been great. Gary Payton finally healthy. Draymond back shooting threes. Like, you know, but we got to get Wiggins going, though. He's been struggling as of late.
Yeah,
we got
that's the key.
Going, man. Yeah, we got to get him going. But Steph has been playing phenomenal basketball. I can't preach enough for his greatness, and Clay has bought in. He has been jacking up a lot of shots. He just bought into his role. So that's what you like to see as the fan. And the rookies that we got, Paz and Trace Jackson Davis, they have been phenomenal, giving us energy coming in off the bench. So yeah, we've been looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, I've seen a few games here or there, and just seeing some of the outputs. I mean, Moses Moody's giving you a game here or there. Looney obviously consistent. Dario Saric off the bench, a guy that can give you a night here and there. So yeah, I do agree with you. I saw this crazy stat. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe you can confirm it for me, but I think it was on Twitter, and it said that there is no player outside of Stephen Curry that scored 20-plus points for the Warriors this season. Is that true?
No, that's not true. Dario scored 20 against the Thunder this past Friday.
I thought Dario Saric, he had like a monster game off the bench a few games back, so I didn't know if that was true, but maybe it was only one other player has had a 20-plus point game aside from Steph Curry. Maybe that's what the stat was.
Yeah, I swear I saw it on I don't know if Clay scored 20 yet, but I know Dario did for sure.
Yeah, Dario. I remember seeing that at least in a box score that Dario scored more than that. But I do think this Warriors team, you look at them compared to what they were last year already, and they're just a completely much more deeper team, right? Like you look at the depth, it's like you'll take, what you're getting out of Clay, right? 16 points right now. It's not what you usually get, but you're getting help from other pieces around the team. So I do like that pick. I ultimately have the Bucks at number 3. Now, that's me giving a lot of benefit of doubt to the Milwaukee Bucks because they have not looked great to start the season. Just this last week, they did beat the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks to move them to 4-2. But I still have a deep belief that this is one of, if not the best team in the NBA when it comes down to it. And once Giannis and Dame actually figure it out. Now, the defensive concerns are real with Dame. They got to figure that out. Like, I don't know how you can hide him. Like, I don't know if it's even possible. And it's just crazy to think about. Like, why is this becoming a conversation in Milwaukee versus Portland? Because I would argue that he had less defensive help in Portland than he does in Milwaukee. So it's just funny. Like I've never heard that narrative that Damian Lillard doesn't guard, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe you have, with your team being in the Western Conference. But I just never heard that narrative while he was in Portland. As soon as he gets to Milwaukee, he's like this, this trash can that everybody rolls by. So It'll be interesting to see if they get that figured out, but I do like the depth they have there with Jay Crowder. They've added a few pieces in there. You still got Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez. I'm trying to think of the other guys. Chris Middleton needs to get back into his. Who'd you say?
You got Malik Beasley campaign.
Malik Beasley campaign.
Beauchamp.
Beauchamp. That's who I was going to say too. He's giving them a nice punch off the bench. Young guy.
Pat
can shoot the ball. Yeah, Pat Connaughton. That's another starter. So they got a nice deep team, and it almost makes me want to put them above the Celtics for that reason. But I still got to see a little bit more. My number 4, just to ride your point on the Warriors. I got the Warriors at number 4 here at 6-2. So I'll throw it back to you for number 4 there.
I got the Celtics coming in at number 4.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, they've been, the depth does concern me because, Derek White gets injured and, coming in off the bench, you kind of worry a little bit. But overall, this starting 5 has been great. Drew Holiday has bought into his role. Derek White, they're one of the best defensive backcourts in this league. And then you got Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum playing phenomenal. Kristaps Porzingis has been great and shooting the ball great, protecting the rim and things like this. So that's what I got coming in at number 4.
I like it. Obviously, I had the Celtics at number 2, but I have no problem with you having the Warriors over the Celtics or even the Mavs. Honestly, the Mavs have gotten off to a great start at 6-1. So, I like it. Number 5 for me, I'm going to go ahead and throw the Sixers into the mix here at 5-1. They recently – now, to be fair, they haven't had a ton of competition in a sense, right? Like you lost the opening night game against the Bucks by 1 point. I'll throw that in there. 1 point on the road. Nonetheless, lost, but beat the Toronto Raptors twice, beat the Wizards, beat the Phoenix Suns minus Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. So while hasn't been the greatest, amount of competition for them, they have beaten everybody in front of them, and they've done it handedly. They've dominated teams, and they're doing it a lot different than what they did last year for my liking. I love what Nick Nurse has brought to the team. I got the Sixers coming in at number 5 here. We'll see if they can hang around, man. I didn't have them that high to start the season, but they have pleasantly surprised me. I think with Maxi's ascension, they could turn into and stay a top 5 team in the NBA this year if they can stay healthy.
All right, I got Philly coming in at number 5 as well. It's crazy how y'all was able to get Kelly Oubre for like a minimum. It still blows me. Like I can't believe that. Like it's crazy. Like he's playing phenomenal for y'all. He's averaging like 19 points. Like you mentioned, Tobias Harris he's been great. He's back to that old Tobias of old. Tyrese Maxey taking that extra leap. Y'all got depth. Like we mentioned, y'all got Morris, KJ, Batum. Rocco, the list goes on. Paul Reed, Pat Bev. Y'all got a lot of great guys coming in off the bench.
14 guys.
Yeah, but Joel Embiid doing what he does. So, and Nick Nurse has been doing a phenomenal job, man. Like watching the games, you can just tell the difference between him and Doc Rivers off the rip.
Yeah, that has like just watching like a huddle, for example, like seeing the activity, and like this is just face value, right? Like seeing the activity that Nick Nurse is having in his huddle with the players is different. The way he's approaching Maxey and Embiid is different, and I think what it could lead to, man. I've seen Embiid now. He's going after every layup. So any player that comes into the paint trying to finish at the rim, he's coming after it every time. And I've heard several stories about Nick Nurse coaching him to that. Go up and take risks. Risk it all. Go out and be the defensive anchor that this team needs. I think it's going to lead to him being a defensive player of the year candidate. And I do think he's just going to become a lot more efficient in this offense, the way the ball moves. But you mentioned it, man. I just wanted to highlight this for the Sixers. The additions. Now that trade is done, right? Kelly Oubre on the minimum contract. Patrick Beverley on the minimum contract. Mo Bamba on a minimum contract. Then with the trade, they also add Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, and Marcus Morris, man. So you look across just the trade and then the couple free agents that Daryl Morey signed over the offseason. And all of a sudden, the offseason and this Sixers roster looks a lot better than what it did coming into the season. So Just wanted to highlight that. But I do agree. We both got the Sixers at number 5. At number 6, once again, some benefit of the doubt here with the Clippers. They've only played 6 games. They're 3-3. Just got Harden, right? Just got PJ Tucker. Need to see if they can get those guys involved a little bit more, see if that chemistry can get going. But I still do like the core. Comes down to health for them. As long as they're healthy, I'll love their roster. As soon as one of those stars goes down, things start looking a little sketchy for me. But I'll stick with the Clippers at number 6 here. Who do you got at number 6, man?
I will say this about the Sixers. Also, if Melton if he start hitting his jump shot, that's a scary sight to see for sure. D'Anthony Melton.
Oh, yeah. He went 4 for 5 from the three-point line the other night. But to your point, he's been struggling all season from the three-point line. But he did go, I believe, 4 for 5 from the three-point line the other night. It was like his first game where he looked like half decent shooting the ball. Yeah. So, I think that is a huge piece for the Sixers there, man. We didn't even mention him this show, but who do you got at number 6, though?
I got the Timberwolves coming in at number 6, like we mentioned earlier. And, man, he's been great, no doubt about it. And all the guys around him, Naz Reid, McDaniels. Also, I miss Kyle Anderson. He's been great off the bench.
Yeah, we didn't even speak on him. Yeah,
these guys been phenomenal coming in off the bench. Like I said, Rudy Gobert has been great this season. I like what I've been seeing from a defensive standpoint and being more assertive on the offensive end. Obviously, there's a concern with Cat on both ends. We'll see how that go.
Yeah.
But like I said, Mike Conley has been a leader, a vet, bringing these guys together. He's been producing on both ends. So, that's what I got coming in at number 6.
I like it, man. I also got the TWolves on my list here as well, but I don't have them up as high. You make me rethink, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Mavs and the T-Wolves, you got me rethinking about needing to move them up higher. So those are 2 teams I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on. I think I'm giving a little bit of too much benefit of the doubt to the Bucks and the Clippers, but I'll stick with my rankings nonetheless. Number 7 for me. So I had 6. I had the Clippers. Number 7, I have the Dallas Mavericks, who you mentioned earlier. We already discussed them, so I won't go into any further detail there. But the Mavs come in at number 7 for me.
Yeah. Coming in at number 7 for me, I got the Milwaukee Bucks. I know they kind of low for a lot of people, but they haven't really been impressing me as of late. Like you mentioned, Damian Lillard, been kind of a struggle. Even though I know he'll get to what we know for him doing. But it's just going to take some time. But they have been struggling. I think his second game, he scored like 0 points or something like that.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. And also, one concern, Chris Middleton. He hasn't really looked like the old Chris Middleton of old. He's been kind of inconsistent a little bit. I don't know if he's dealing with injury or what's really going on. But what you're going to get from Giannis, Brook Lopez. He's always going to be solid. Bobby Porter's coming in off the bench, bringing that energy. Jay Crowder has been playing well. Malik Beasley, he's been solid. Pat Connaughton campaign. So it really revolves around Dame and Chris Middleton. Can those guys, get back to what we know to seeing them do? But
I think that's a great point, man. Chris Middleton right now, 9.8 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Shooting numbers aren't terrible. He's just not shooting the ball a lot. He's not getting a lot of shots. How many minutes is he playing per night?
He has to be that third option for them to compete for a championship, though.
Yeah, he has to step up to that level at some point in this season, right? Like, he can't be just playing. He's only playing 18 minutes per game right now, so maybe he's still on like a minutes restriction coming off the injury. So we'll have to give him a little bit more time. But no, I think where you have the Bucks, man, looking in hindsight, I feel like you kind of schooled me on this list a little bit. Because, I kind of agree with your list a little bit more than mine now, looking at it. Just because the Bucks, man, they haven't been more impressive than the Mavs. I'm really just giving them a benefit of the doubt from, like, balancing, like, contending for a championship and what's happening right now, right? And I think I may have outweighed the championship contending there, but nonetheless, I do like where you have the Bucks there at number 7. My number 8 is going to be those Minnesota T-Wolves that you mentioned earlier. We've discussed them enough on this show. I'm not going to get into them any further, but I tend to agree with what you stated earlier, man. They got length, they got depth. And they got a star player in Ant that can be an MVP candidate in this league. So I do like what the TWolves are doing, and maybe they even need to be up a little bit further.
Yeah. Even though, it's all just sample size, we really don't know how long any of this is going to truly last, but we just like, what, eight games in, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I
Yeah.
mean, some Clippers have only played 6, Sixers have only played 6, so 8 games about maximum right now, it seems like.
Yeah, but coming in at number 8, I got the OKC Thunder. We don't really have to get into detail. We talked about them
we talked about them.
enough. Like, we played them this past Friday, and they scored 139 points without SGA. So that's enough said right there, man. Like, this team is young, they talented, they drafted very well. These guys, they complement each other so well. They well coached, and they building a nice culture over there for sure. And they got a lot of assets moving forward, man. A lot of
I know
things like that.
They've stacked up the draft picks, the open cap space like no other, man. Like, I do like what the OKC Thunder are doing, and I do just want to ask you one question regarding them. Are you a little hesitant to call them like a contender right now in the Western Conference? When you look at it from that standpoint, like OKC Thunder as a contender, is their only detractor their experience? Like, is that the only weakness you can look at on their team? Because, like, from me looking at their team, there's maybe one other thing that I would point to. They could use like a bulky 5, like a backup center or a starting center beside Chet. I think that's the only thing that I would really like ask for outside of like what they have talent wise. The only thing that's holding me back from like believing in them is just their experience. It feels like if they become like a top 5 team in the Western Conference this season, that would be pretty crazy of a turnaround for them. Like, is that the only thing kind of holding you back if you are holding back?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For them, if they want to compete, they're definitely going to have to add some, vets in their locker room. Guys like PJ Tucker would be great for a team like that. He really doesn't have to score the ball, but just be a leader for those young guys and provide, valuable minutes when called upon for sure. And also, like as a backup 5, you're right. They should definitely try to look into that, getting a vet to come in off the bench. But I will say this: as far as contending, it really depends on health. The Clippers. If those guys healthy, you really can't rule them out. But if they start dealing with injuries, I may have to put the Thunder over them. So it really just depends on health for sure.
See, and that's where the NBA gets crazy because you look at the Clippers and name value, right? If they lose one of those guys, it shouldn't matter. But in reality, where those guys are in their careers right now, it does matter. And man, it begs the question: would you rather have the OKC roster situation, or would you rather have the Clippers roster situation? And I think I would lean OKC, man. Even if I had to wait a year, I think I would lean OKC because I don't think the Clippers are winning a championship. I don't think it's going to happen. So I would take the hope of OKC over what the Clippers have right now, if that makes sense. My number 9 team, my Zion, my Duke bias is coming out here. I got the New Orleans Pelicans at 4-3. This last week, they beat OKC. They beat the Detroit Pistons, but they did lose to the Atlanta Hawks and the Denver Nuggets. Nonetheless, I do like what the Pelicans are doing. I think Zion still needs to get his feet under him a little bit, get back in shape still, game shape, that is. He is in a lot better shape than he was last year, but still needs to get back into game shape. I should say I am worried about CJ McCollum, and I should say that slipped my mind because my man had a collapsed lung. I'm sending prayers out to CJ McCollum because he's one of my favorite guys in the league. But that does put a little bit of a hamper on this team now that I think about it. Nonetheless, I still kept him in here. Hopefully CJ can recover. Trey Murphy III. I need to look it up. Is Trey Murphy III returning this season? Do you know?
I do not know. I think it's a possibility. I don't know, man. It just depends.
What his injury is.
Same thing with Jose Alvarado. He's dealing with injuries.
Yeah, so they're kind of dealing with injuries across the board here. They need to get healthy. Yeah, I think now if I'm looking back on it, man, I would have probably moved OKC into my top 10 instead of the Pelicans, move them out with losing CJ McCollum. That's a tough loss there. But yeah, I'll stick with the Pelicans. What I have on my list, what I've put out to the world already. We'll stick with the Pelicans at 9. And then number 10, I'll just give you the rest of my list here. I got the LA Lakers 3 and 4. Once again, benefit of the doubt. Need to see a lot more from them. But I do think as we approach towards the end of the season, we'll see them get things ironed out and become a mainstay in the West. But that Western Conference is beyond stacked right now. You mentioned OKC. Haven't even mentioned like the Phoenix Suns, right, who aren't healthy right now. Yeah, there's a lot of teams out west, man.
Wow. What a Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, no Sacramento. Haven't even talked about it. And they're 2 and 4, right? We talk about this sample size. Like 2 and 4 doesn't mean anything. And I think it's important to note these power rankings are completely fluid. They're going to change every single week. You know what I mean? Like Stephen A. says,
very fluid.
Yeah, that's what these are, man. But yeah, we didn't mention the Kings, the Suns at all today. It's interesting. Who do you got to finish out your list, though, man?
At number 9, I got the Pelicans. First off, prayers up to CJ. It's my guy, man.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite players to ever play the game. But yeah, like you mentioned, Zion, he's been playing well. He seems healthy. He's been getting after it. Hopefully to see Brandon Ingram stay healthy. He's been dealing with it. He's been in and out the lineup,
in and out,
things like that. But they hit it. They drafted well with this rookie Jordan Hawkins. He's been great.
Yeah, he had 31 the other night.
Yeah, he won a championship at UConn. But he's been great. And Dyson Daniels coming in off the bench providing energy. Matt Ryan, he's been shooting the ball very well.
Yep.
Valanciunas being aggressive offensively. So Willie Green has been doing his job coaching and putting the right lineups together for sure.
Herb Jones has been good for him as well. Yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned Jordan Hawkins and thinking about him and getting Trey Murphy the third back. That team is gonna be nasty, man. Like it's all about health, though. Like I say that, and I got to slow myself down because Ingram's got to stay healthy. CJ's got to get right. Zion's got to stay healthy. So a lot of different factors there for them, man. But I'm glad we agree on them at 9.
Yeah, health has really held Brandon Ingram back. Like he's so talented. He could be like a 4-time All-Star by now, but health hasn't just been on his side, man. It's sad to see because he's such a great talent.
I agree, man. I completely agree with you. Who do you got at number 10? Finish out your list.
At number 10, this was tough, man. Like it was very tough, man. You got the Magic, the Hawks, the Pacers. It's tough, but I got to go with the Pacers, man. Like I mentioned earlier, they have been phenomenal, bro. Like you can't make this up. They have been great.
You got me hip to the Pacers, the numbers wise, right? Like I told you at the beginning of the season, I was intrigued by them coming into the season, but you got me hip during this show to the numbers and what they're doing. They're doing some historical shit right now, as far as offensive metrics and stuff like that. So I'm excited for what the Pacers can do and see what they can kind of build over this regular season confidence wise. Because I do think they're going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Like I wholeheartedly believe
me too.
Between them and the Magic, I think both of those teams are going to find a way to get in. Anyways, that rounds out our top 10 power rankings in week 3 of the NBA. We'll be back next week to discuss our new power rankings. We'll get these out to you guys weekly. But nonetheless, let's finish up the show here, Slim, with picks for the Wednesday night slate. I'm gonna run through the game schedule for tonight. Just give me your thoughts on who you think is gonna grab each game. We'll just go through them one by one real quick here to end the show. So we'll start in Charlotte. We got the Wizards visiting the Hornets. We got Charlotte Hornets as 2.5-point favorites. Who do you got winning this one, in your opinion?
I got the Hornets.
Nice. I like it. That is who I picked as well. I just think they're the better team right now. The Wizards really did not show me anything on Monday towards a positive season. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Jazz at Pacers. Indiana's a 6.5-point favorite.
Got the Pacers pulling out the dub, man.
Yes, sir. They gotta make you look good, putting them in the top 10, man.
I've been riding the wave, man.
I love it. I got the Pacers in that game as well, man. I'll get your pick for Celtics at Sixers. I'm doing Sixers pregame in a little while here, so I'll get my pick on that show. But your pick for Celtics at Sixers tonight.
It's tough, bro. Like, it's tough, man. Like,
early in the season.
Yes, man. Then both of them, they 6-1, and they both been playing great, man.
Yeah.
But I gotta go with the Sixers on this one, man.
I love it. Sixers at home. They gotta take care of business, man.
That was the key thing. I had to see who was at home, and I
that
said,
was the decider. I got you.
They should beat them at home.
Clippers at Nets. Who do you got in that one?
The Clippers should definitely pull this win out. Yeah,
get that first win with James Harden. I'm with you there as well. Spurs at Knicks.
The Spurs. Go with the Spurs.
I like the Spurs, man. I do like the Spurs early on in this season as teams try to figure out how to deal with Victor, and as he figures things out. Suns at Bulls. Who do you got?
The Suns. I got the Suns.
I like that. I got the Suns as well. Lakers at Rockets.
The Lakers. They should definitely bounce back. They lost to the Heat a few days ago. They should bounce back.
Yeah, they need a bounce back game. They need to get above 500 too. So yeah, I went with the Lakers in that one. Heat at the Grizzlies. Got the Miami Heat 1.5 point favorites on the road.
The Grizzlies have been struggling as of late, but I got to go with the Heat.
Yeah. I was kind of leaning the Grizzlies there just because they are at home, but I don't know. It's like as soon as I doubt the Heat, then they always screw me over.
The Grizzlies have a lot of key players out tonight. I checked the injury report. Yeah.
Interesting. So, yeah, maybe I would switch to the Heat. I don't know. I wouldn't put my money into that game regardless, but we got the Pistons at the Bucks. I'm guessing you're going to go with the Bucks in that one.
Yeah, for sure.
They should win.
Right? Yeah, they should win. If they do lose, then it's time to have a conversation. No, I'm joking. Sample size.
Hey, it's been a wild season so far, though. But Pelicans at T-Wolves.
I got the Wolves pulling this out.
Yeah, at home. Pelicans a little beat up right now. Cavs at OKC.
I have the Thunder beating them.
I got the Thunder as well. Raptors at Mavericks.
I got the Mavs.
Take the Mavs as well. We got your Warriors squaring off with the Denver Nuggets, man. That's a huge matchup in Denver.
Yes, and then Draymond out and Jamal Murray out. But, I got to be a little biased here and go with the Dubs.
Hey, I went with the Dubs as well, man. The reason I did, honestly, the Nuggets are 7-1. Like, you got to lose games here or there. Why not lose to the Golden State Warriors? That's kind of my logic. They're just due for a loss. And the Warriors are a good contending basketball team. It would be a huge win for them to get in Denver at that. So I like the pick as well, even though it may be a little biased. Last game of the evening, the Trailblazers at the Sacramento Kings.
I got the Blazers, man.
Oh, wow.
I got the Blazers.
You surprised me with that. What makes you pick the Blazers? I got to ask.
Well, Darren Foxy out, and they haven't really been playing well without him.
Fox is out, yeah. 2-4 right now for the Kings. So
the bonus has been sort of kind of struggling. I feel like he can provide more on the offensive end.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you there as well. That's interesting though. The Blazers might have to look into that with no De'Aaron Fox, but that rounds out the picks for Wednesday night. Once again, we'll be back next week. We'll kind of do the same thing. We'll touch on the hottest topics around the league, figure out what's going on around the league, and then we'll dive into our top 10 power rankings. Keep a heat check there. But for everybody that tuned in, commented, thank you for all the comments. Of course, if you're watching this later, be sure to still share your thoughts. I will definitely check the comments out on the show afterwards. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the pod, hit that subscribe button. Like the video to help us out with the algorithm and build this community. And of course, head into the description of this video. Find my man Slim's Pod, To The Galaxy Pod on YouTube at To The Galaxy Pod. It's right in the description of this show. You can click on the link and it'll take you to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button there. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. You can find my co-host here, Slim, at RTR30111. For myself, for Slim, that is going to be it for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Sir. And thank you for tuning in. Go Sixers. And for my guests here, hey, go Doves, right?
Yeah, go Warriors, man.
Peace.